Welcome to my show. I'm with a guest here. Her name is Makheni Zonneveld. Mrs. Makheni, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing fine and very happy to be interviewed by you at last.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Mrs. Makheni. Firstly, you are a coach. You are also an author and a speaker. Can you
Yes.
please, Mrs. Makheni, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, ma?
Okay, I'm originally from South Africa and I'm now in the Netherlands. I followed my heart to the Netherlands. You know, women like to do that. So I'm a speaker and coach, as you said, and this is the 26th year that I've been doing that. And I was doing that mainly in the emotional welfare space, in personal development, leadership, and I did that since 1999. And then I only started adding physical wellness to what I offer later because between 2006 and 2008, I was very ill and I was helped by nutrition information. So then I started studying this more and more and studying about food toxicology. And 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I started adding physical health. And even the book that I've written, you have referred to the fact that I'm an author. In the past, I used to write books on leadership, etc. But the book that I published last year is on both physical and mental health.
That's very lovely. Thank you so much, Mrs. McKinney. And can you please, discuss more on those books you've written? And are you also planning to write more books in the coming future, Mrs. McKinney?
Yes, in the past, I used to write like just ebooks on leadership, inclusion, but now my focus is really on health. And this book that I've written on health is available in paperback and also digitally. And the next book I'm working on actually is demanded by people who read the first book. They said, "Yeah, you explain so well about food and what food does to us and what food is good, but where are the recipes?" I said, "I'm not a recipe person. I'm a creative cook, and I only give people tips on how to cook vegetables in a very tasty manner." And then people say, "Where is the book on the tips?" So I'm working on that, but it's still a year or months away. It's not going to happen next week.
Exactly. It takes a very huge time. And then we will also be, expecting that book. Thank you so much, Mrs. McKinney. And
Okay.
I would love to dive to the point of emotional detox, ma. Some people could listen to what emotional detox is. They might not really know what it really means, Mrs. McKinney. Can you please, ma, tell us what emotional detox really means? And how do you think it's also differ from physical detoxification, Mrs. McKinney?
That's a very good question. Emotional detox is what I call forgiveness. Everybody calls this forgiveness, but I call it emotional detox. And this word, emotional detox, I got from physical detox. Now you want to know what the difference is. Firstly, physical detox, bodily detox is what you should not do, not do. And then emotional detox is what we should do. So physical, as someone who talks to people all the time about health, people ask me, when I start eating healthily, should I start with a physical detox? And the short answer is no, because physical detox, it's all these products that are just money making things. You toxify your body with what you eat, with the wrong things. And then to detoxify, you don't take any treatment for that. You simply stop toxifying your body and start eating right. That is the physical detox. But now, what I call mental detox is because unforgiveness does such a lot of harm on an ongoing basis, minute by minute, your whole life. Before you start with uh, your emotional well-being, with your personal development, the first step I always suggest is emotional detox. Forgive. So emotional detox is just my fancy way of saying forgiveness.
That's very nice. Thank you so much, Mrs. McEnany. Forgiveness is very, very important. If someone forgive, that relief to come to one person, and someone we have more freedom in the life he or she comes for. And I would like to ask Mrs. McEnany, forgiveness could be something that people could believe that some people there are some situations whereby I'm in a position some person will say I've forgiven you, but most of the time it might not come from the mind. And I would just what drive me to this point. Do you think forgiveness is just like a one-time event, or do you think it's require ongoing efforts and constant practice, Mrs. McKenney?
You know, you said something important. Someone may say, I forgive you, but it may just be words. That is true. Forgiveness is not about you saying, I forgive you. Forgiveness is about really forgiving. Whether you tell the person or not, that's another matter. But it's about you forgiving. Now, what is forgiveness? I define forgiveness in terms of the person who is forgiving, not the person who is being forgiven. No, I don't define it that way. I define it as you do yourself this favor. You know that there's the body mind connection. I write a lot about it in the book. So, the body mind connection, there is the negative body mind connection. That negativity and not forgiving and stress make you ill. And then the positive emotions enhance your physical well being. And the other way around. When you are not well, then you are not happy, then you get stressed. So when you don't forgive, let's say right now you insult me very much. You say to me, you pig, you slut. That's an insult. It does pain to me, emotional pain and physical pain. And then I hold it against you. It's going to make me physically ill. It doesn't end up as emotional pain only. So, for as long as I'm holding that grudge and thinking about it all the time, it causes illness in me and it causes blockages. So, I have a choice. After you insult me and you say, you fool, or whatever, after you do that, I have a choice. I can hold on to that and suffer from the negative effects of the mind body connection, or I can choose to benefit from the positive effects of the mind body connection. I forgive you, I release myself, I release my body. Because when we get angry, when we get offended, the opposite of happiness happens. You know, when you exercise, when you hear a joke and laugh, when you are with people you love, your body releases happiness hormones. And when you're angry, when you don't forgive, your body releases stress hormones, cortisol, stress hormones, adrenaline, stress hormones. The hormones are physical things, so they make you ill. Non forgiveness means on an ongoing basis, your body is flooded with those emotions. So you choose, I'm not going to punish myself because of him. I forgive.
That's very, very wonderful. Thank you so much, Mrs. McKenney. And I would like to also dive to this point whereby some people could, I remember you said it brings a lot of blockages to one, to someone when someone is having this unforgiveness thing in him or herself. And some
Yes.
people, I do not know if some people usually know if they are carrying this load or they do not know that they are carrying this load, but they believe that it is already gone, but they do not know that they are still carrying that load of unforgiveness in them. Do you think people usually do not know that they are carrying that unforgiveness, in them? And how do you think someone can identify if someone is having that blockages and they might not even know that they're even, having this unforgiveness thing in them, ma?
You ask very interesting questions. You say how if you're carrying that unforgiveness, are you
Mm,
aware? So you are aware that you have not forgiven someone, but
okay.
what we don't become aware of is what it does to us. We don't become aware of how it harms us emotionally and physically. You are aware that you have not forgiven someone. Every time you hear this person's name, you want to scream. Just thinking of this person, it causes the same hurt that you had the first time, you get it all over again. So you are aware, but what we don't realize is what it does to us. I'm saying this because I carried unforgiveness from the time I was a child, from the time I was 10, 11, until 1999, for decades.
Mm.
I was aware that I had not forgiven, but I was not aware of what it was doing to me. We don't realize that unforgiveness causes serious problems, serious illnesses, such as cancer. And you asked another question: how do you see, how do you identify that this person has emotional blockages? When I was going about with my emotional blockages, nobody knew. I was still this happy-go-lucky, crazy, laughing Makheni. But when you put your head on the pillow, when you put your head on the pillow, you are alone on that pillow, and the pain comes. So it's not something like a disease that you see that someone has got a rash on the face. No, it is the person, him or herself, who knows I'm holding this.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. McKenney. And there will definitely be challenges. Challenges could come that people could possibly face when they are trying to forgive someone. If there is any challenges that do come, when someone is trying to forgive, what
Hmm.
do you think are the most common challenges you think people face when trying to forgive? And how do you think someone can overcome these challenges, Mrs. McKenney?
Challenges, there's a whole list of them. I will only mention a few. I forgave in 2002, and in 2003, I produced a CD on forgiveness because I felt very strongly that I want to share this important message so that other people should not suffer for decades like I did. And in the book, there's the whole chapter on that. This is for me, I'm so grateful that you chose this topic because it's a very big topic for me. So I will tell you what challenges are there. What makes forgiveness so difficult? Firstly, it's what we think of forgiveness. You insult me, you harm me, you rape my child, you break into my house, you do anything that's painful to me. And I think if I forgive you, I'm doing you a favor. That's what we think. Secondly, we think if I forgive you, I can't forgive you because you don't deserve the forgiveness. Do you know what? It's true. On the 5th of May last year, 5,000 euro in South African money is 100,000 rand was fished out of my bank account. Do you know that those people or that person, they don't deserve my forgiveness at all. But now what I must realize is I deserve the healing.
Mm.
So forgiving them has nothing to do what they deserve or don't deserve. I deserve the healing. So I was like, yeah, for 2 days. And after 2 days, I thought, am I kidding? You are the person who preaches the forgiveness message. Look at how ill you are getting. And I forgave and I became okay. Those people don't deserve the forgiving, but I deserve the healing. And then we think forgiveness means if I found someone breaking into my house and forgive this person, it means I mustn't go to the police anymore. This person is exonerated from punishment. No, I still go to the police. You still get locked up, but I get out of the mental prison of unforgiveness. So those are the things that keep us forgiving. Another thing, we wait until we feel like forgiving. I'm telling you, Temi, that feeling never comes. Don't wait for that feeling. You're not going to feel like forgiving. So those are just some of the things that keep us from forgiving. And when you are aware of them, it starts with awareness. That, oh, I'm not doing this person a favor. I'll be doing myself a favor. And the awareness of the cost of unforgiveness, that one day you'll end up with chemotherapy, having cancer, not only because of sugar and meat and all the other things, but also because of the emotional pain. So, yeah, those are the things that keep us from forgiveness. And what helps us is awareness.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Makheni. Uh, Unforgiveness is just like a wound. A wound someone cannot just see. Honestly speaking, it's not easy. And I would like to know, from your personal experience, from your personal story, I will know that, you could have some success stories when it comes to the point of forgiveness, helping, maybe someone or even helping yourself, that, how forgiveness really helped you, that transformed you in a very huge way. Can you please, Mrs. McHenny, share with us a success story where you think someone transformed their health or their life through forgiveness, ma?
Before I mention, I've got so many success stories
Yes.
because for many years I used to operate in the space of uh, child abuse, helping child abuse victims. And people have carried pain for decades. And I have many, many stories of people who forgave and overcame. My personal story is I couldn't forgive for decades, and because of that, I used to have a recurring nightmare. The same nightmare. In my whole life, I've never had any other different nightmare. It was just that one painful nightmare that went on for decades. And since I forgave in 2002, I've never had that nightmare again. I've never had, it's like, it's unbelievable. And I felt the release. And I don't think of this person who hurt me anymore. This person no longer occupies rent-free space in my head. I don't harbor hatred and resentment. And another story is a story that I share in the book because, in the book, I share success stories of people. The part one of the book is on physical health. People say, "Yeah, well, Makheni told me this, and I did this, and then I've got this disease like high blood pressure and diabetes." And when I went to my doctor was amazed, and my doctor halved my medication. I'm not exaggerating. This morning while walking, I was talking to someone from Pretoria who bought the book a few months ago, and she was giving me feedback that I used to take metformin 800 milligrams twice a day. Now I take 500 milligrams once a day. Those are the stories. So when it comes to part two, to physical health, to mental health, after the chapter on forgiveness, there's a story of a Zambian woman. Now, uh, I heard her. She interviewed me, so I listened to the podcast. In fact, the first time before she interviewed me, she interviewed a friend of mine, and I was invited. I listened, and I watched this happy woman, this glowing woman on this wonderful podcast, and you won't believe it. As if she was saying, "I sprained my ankle." She said, "I got raped," and I thought, just like that. And I said to myself, this is a forgiveness story. So then I contacted her and said, you know what? In my book, I'm including people's stories. It's easy for me to ask people to tell their stories of diabetes, etc. Are you comfortable that I should, with your real name, write your forgiveness story? She said, sure. I know it will help people. Her name is Chulu, and Chulu's story is in the book. And she said to me, instead of telling you my story, I'm referring you to a podcast. And then I listened to the podcast where she tells all the gory details of being raped, and then she was robbed. They took her handbag and she got raped. You know all that, and then after some time she managed to get to hospital, and the way she was treated at the hospital, the doctor saying at the top of her voice, this is the one who is raped. You know, the
Mm,
police treating her badly and asking her to pay a bribe so they should investigate. You know, all that horror. She says, I was a mess. And then she says, my mother took me to a priest who prayed for me and said to me, you should go seek therapy. And for the first time, she heard about forgiveness. The therapist said, the only way you're going to heal is to forgive. She has forgiven. She can share her story publicly. She can, you know, she is like, her soul is cleansed. Her mind is cleansed. Her emotions are cleansed from the unforgiveness that really grabbed her until she went to the priest. So those are success stories. I know many of them.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. McKenny. It was very, very emotional and touching. And some people could even see the woman, and some people would never imagine that such has happened to her. I thank God that she's definitely healing and she's getting better. It's a very good news. And I would like to know, some people might like, forgiveness, forgiveness. How do I even start? How do I even do it? If I want to just forgive someone, where do I even begin? What advice do you have for someone who probably wants to forgive, but they don't even just know where to start?
Oh, what a great question. Where do I start? Now that I understand what it costs me, now that I understand I don't have to be a victim, I don't even have to be a survivor, I can be a thriver. Makheni, I want this for myself. I want to be like this woman you are describing, this woman from Zambia. Where do I start? Because, while you still want to continue with the forgiveness, it's useless to tell you about how to start. It's like someone who's smoking, and you say, yeah, you can buy this, you can do this so to stop smoking. That doesn't help people who still want to continue smoking. But someone who says, you know what, I really want to stop smoking. What can I do? So your question is for people who want to get out of this prison. They want to break free. One of the things, it starts with wanting to, and then also realize the effect of talking to people. Right now, if we were just having a conversation and I told you how 100,000 rand, 5,000 euro was stolen from me, what would you have said? You would not have thought of forgiveness. You'd say, hey, these people are so terrible. This happened to my uncle. This happened to my friend. This happened to my neighbor. These people must get locked up. The police must do their job. We start talking about all this negativity,
Mm.
and then if you want to forgive, don't talk to people who help you to hate. You know why people help you to hate? They care for you. They think it's solidarity with you. They think it's solidarity. It's like if you and I get married and we divorce, whenever I meet people, they will tell me how bad you are. Oh, his new girlfriend is so ugly because they think it's solidarity. So even with forgiveness, people think it's solidarity. They help you to hate this person. So stop talking to those people. And then I will tell you what helped me to forgive. The work that I do, speaker, coach, doing workshops, writing books, is secular work. So it does not include, thus saith the Lord. But I'll tell you something. Makheni, the person, is a believer. And I will tell you right now, there is no way I could have forgiven in my own strength. I forgave in God's strength.
Mm.
So even if when I do my work, it's secular, it's psychology, it's nutrition, the person, Makheni, knows. It's not what I would uh, force anybody to do. But when I talk to people about forgiveness, I say, I don't know what you believe. I don't know what you will help me, but I don't know anything else that helps with forgiveness other than forgiving in God's strength.
I completely agree with you, Mrs. McKenney. And to also add on that, even during my young time age, as a young guy, as a guy who probably has lost his mother very early, I used to have
Mm,
this type of person who just install a lot of things in the mind and don't just get it out. And
mm,
due to that thing, it really affected me in my education. A lot of things does happen. And forgiveness is one of the most powerful things that I've ever, ever, ever felt in my life. Well, what really helped me during that time was when I went to the Catholic faith, they made me understand forgiveness is very, very important in someone's life. And when I had this type of let go, it took months before I could even recover. And it's really, really helped me. It has helped me in many ways. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful things that is happening today in now today's world. It is not easy. Bad people are everywhere. Terrible things happen to every single person every single day. But we just have to continue to have this mindset of forgiveness so we can have the lifestyle we imagined, we hope for ourselves. And lastly, Mrs. McKenney, there's a question I normally ask, ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, there are a lot of things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing will be, Mrs. McKenney?
hmm. But I just firstly quickly want to say the word ancestor, I'm not very comfortable with because where I come from, the word
Hmm.
ancestor used for ancestral worship. But if I understand your question properly, it's not about ancestral worship. It's about people who lived long ago. Do I understand your
Yes,
question
ma'am.
properly? Okay. Now, uh, if we for me, the most wonderful person a person who has ever lived, whom I'm looking forward to meeting,
Hmm.
is Savior, because he came here in as a human being in human flesh. But if we talk about other people who are not our Savior, oh, there are so many. There are so many. Let me think. Let me tell you about someone who had a huge impact on my life. Someone who had a huge impact. Oh, no, no, let me mention the one who has passed away. I
Hmm.
was fortunate enough that in 1981, at the first college where I was a lecturer, I had a colleague, Mrs. Rena Thorne. She passed away in 2011. And you know what? She made such an impact in my life because she gave me the first book that told me about personal development. You know, you young people grew up in a world where this information on setting goals and being positive and everything,
Hmm.
it's all over. When I was young, it was not all over. Do you know that I studied psychology from 1974, but it was before positive psychology even started. It was about just psychology, mental illness, etc., depression. It was about that. But positive psychology was introduced to me in 1981 by Mrs. Rena Thorne, a colleague. She has passed on. And I'm very privileged to have had her in my life. My mom is still alive, over 90, and I call Mrs. Rena Thorne my second mom because I really got reborn emotionally after she gave me that book.
Hmm. Mrs. McKenney, I want to personally thank you for your time. And I also want to, you know, wish, and just may our papa so continue to rest in peace. It's definitely not easy, Mrs. McKinney. It's really tough. And I'm very, very glad that your mother is still strong and healthy today. And I continue to wish her more life ahead in the life she come for. I want to thank you again for the opportunity and the time. Thank you so much, Mrs. McKinney.
Something. I mentioned the book, but I didn't say what it is.
Okay.
It's healthier and slimmer, but it's not about slimming methods. Healthier and slimmer, and the website is healthierandslimmer.online.
All right, ma. Have a wonderful day, ma. Bye bye.
Thanks again. Bye.